You can't mess me up when I count, Doc. You know I only have so many fingers and toes. That's just rude.
It's not, when I keep it in the single digits, it's not my fault.
You just distracted me, that's all. All right. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it is time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just three nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. The podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. Well, mostly that's Cisca. But without further ado, we're going to let Mr. Michael Falciani. I should have asked you that in the beginning, but I forgot. Can you introduce yourself and tell us how to pronounce your name?
Okay, yes, I'm Michael Falciani. Very close, very good. I'm a fantasy author. I have written 2 books. The first one is The Raven and the Crow, Dark Storm Rising. And my second one just came out. It's hot off the presses. The Grey Throne. Also comes from the Raven and the Crow series. This should be a 6-book series. So that's me.
That's a lot of books. So is it an epic fantasy?
Oh, it's epic. It's an epic fantasy, yes.
So
I mean, it's epic, but it's also an epic fantasy, yes.
So I hear from a lot of fantasy authors, oh, it's going to be this nice 6-book arc. And then a couple books later, it's going to be this amazing 9-book arc. And then you get Brandon Sanderson where he's like on book 1,000,002. So best laid plans of mice and men, as they say.
But you know what? As long as it's actually still story and it's not filled with fluff, like there's still really good content making the series, I'm okay with that as a reader. Like that's what I want.
Although there are some authors who I worry they might succumb to life before they finish the series, and I'm like, no,
but Michael looks like a young stud. He'll be fine.
I'm not that young, but the stud. I'll keep that. Thank you. It's extremely kind of you to say.
You haven't been to a con. Most authors are very old. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna get hurt next time I go.
I'm actually going to my first con. I have a lot of firsts going on right now.
Which con?
It's not my first podcast. I'm going to Liberty Con, and then I'm going to go to the Imagine one in Kentucky, in Louisville. I'm actually up for an award. I couldn't believe it when my publisher told me. Best audiobook.
So congratulations.
I will be seeing you at Liberty Con.
I cannot wait.
So Liberty Con, it should be fun. I hear there's lots of veterans there. I don't do peopling, but for people that do. Now, is this your first con ever, or just your first con as a published author?
It's my first con ever. So I'm going to be. But my publisher, Three Ravens Publishing, William has already told me. He's like, we have people that just want to mess you up. I was like, all right, well, we'll see. I can't wait. I guess we'll see how it goes.
No. There's some good. There's a book called Pros and Cons by Jody Lynine and Bill Fawcett. It is a fabulous read. It's an easy read too, and it's not a very long book. If you're new to going to conventions, that's well worth picking up and reading. Okay. Liberty Con is a great con to go as your first one, though in some ways, because it is a small con where a lot of people have been going for a very long time. Do not be intimidated by the fact that it's not like high school, because everybody's way nicer than they were in high school. But a lot of people do know each other. So you're going to have a lot of introductions. You're going to be very overwhelmed. Use the name badges.
I'll put my big boy pants on. I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
My number one tip would be always realize if you're not in your hotel room, you're on stage potentially meeting somebody that might be important. You never know.
Okay. Well said. I've been informed. Thank you.
So, yeah. Doc, you're going to be okay. You're nerding out a little bit. I can tell. So maybe they got to give him the con with like the bumper bowling like effect on the side, so he's okay. You think Liberty Con's going to be that?
You know what? My very first con was Dragon Con, so he'll be way better.
There's only like 100 people or so that go to that one, right?
Sure.
Even I know Dragon Con.
I got to find a new joke.
Cons.
JR doesn't math very well because of all the brain damage the infantry put him through.
Yes, but the first few times I said that, you should have seen her face get all discombobulated. It was gloriously hilarious. It doesn't work anymore, so I have to find something else. Give me a couple weeks and I'll figure it out.
Well, that's because I realized that you really don't understand numbers.
I can do math just fine. I take my shoes off and I can count to 20. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just surprised you have all your toes still.
I mean, well, we don't want to gross people out. This is a family-friendly show,
So,
so we'll just move on and
let's
not talk
get
about trench foot.
into how we
No,
first
hold on.
found.
Okay, I was going to ask that question, but
Fine.
I'll answer it since it's easiest. Doc is bossy and said be here, so that's how I found him.
I found him because Hillbilly, his publisher, reached out to him and said, email them. This is the email. And like a brave man, he did, because it is always nerve-wracking reaching out to people that you've never met. Even when you have met them, it can be nerve-wracking. So,
was I supposed to be more nervous?
Well,
really
some
me.
people
Yeah,
are.
sure.
I'm used to
I'm
JR.
pretty-
JR doesn't show his face to anybody because he's afraid of the reaction.
Yeah,
it's my moneymaker. I got to show this as much as possible.
I mean, I've broken a few webcams. It just got to the point where, like, the maker of the webcam's like, look, we'll just give you a full refund, but just please stop. So, it's just a thing. But, we go.
I don't
so
believe
actually,
that
if you remember, dear listener, his publisher is none other than William Joseph Roberts, who was episode 139. So
Yes.
you have seen him on camera live, so to speak. Now, Doc, this is the most important question. We get to determine whether he gets to stick around. You got to ask him the religion.
Stick around.
Here we go.
So,
I'm ready.
Is this like insider privilege because you like William?
What? No.
Is this just because you like Hillbilly?
No. Because he was Army Med. Duh.
Oh, okay. Well, that works. All right, keep going.
So, but the religion question is what JR is getting sort of at, which is Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Oh, it's Firefly. There's no question in my mind. I mean, Star Wars and Star Trek, they're fine. They're good. I enjoy them. But how can you ignore the shiniest place in the verse? It's not possible. It's not possible. Joss Whedon did a great job writing that. The characters are phenomenal. Anara is, oh my God. Captain Reynolds, come on.
Oh, yeah.
That is by far, I mean, I'm sorry, brown coat forever. I love the other two, but Firefly, hands down, end of discussion.
You can't
Anybody
take
wants
this
to
guy
argue,
from me.
please bring it on. I'm fine with it. There you go. Firefly. Boom.
You can't take this guy from me. I get it. I used to have that as a banner, some of the lines from the intro song, but Doc deleted it and called me a nerd.
I did not call you a nerd.
She doesn't understand. She's one of those weird Trekkies, so there's no hope for her.
There's nothing wrong with Star Trek.
I
truly enjoy the Star Trek.
You cannot geek shame me, JR. You cannot. I will loudly proclaim that Henry Cavill is the Emperor of Mankind. You cannot geek shame me.
Henry Cavill. Yeah, he's all right. He's pretty easy on the eyes, I think.
It's not even just his looks. It's that he plays Warhammer.
That is true. I did see that. That was pretty awesome.
And he makes actually a pretty good mini.
Oh, there's no question.
We did reach out, but he never answered us. So
it's fine. I'll still let him be my emperor.
I tried that for you.
I'll still let him be my emperor. He can ignore me, but I'll still let him be my emperor. So that just sounded wrong on so many levels.
Wait. So we're gonna save this, and we're gonna keep that Warhammer thing. So are you a Warhammer fan?
So I played. I didn't play the role top playing game. It's nothing to do with not wanting to. I just didn't have the time, and I was in a lot of sports. I was doing a lot of things, so my time was limited. Having said that, I did play Warhammer Online: The Age of Reckoning.
Ooh!
I absolutely. I mean, I know it's a defunct game now. I think they have something that's Return of Reckoning. Some of these independents have kind of brought it back, so you can still play that. But I do have some idea, and I was so inspired by it that my next novel is actually not part of my Raven and Crow series. It's actually a dwarven steampunk novel called Omens. It's called The Dwarves of Rahm, Omens of War, and it takes place with dwarves are the main characters, and then they have I believe I call them the sallow skins, where you have goblins and orcs and ogres and trolls, and what an absolutely fun thing to write. Not just the dwarves, who were fantastic, but writing, as a goblin shaman. I mean, a troll seer. I mean, I just said, I'm going to do whatever I want. People, in my opinion, and of course I could be wrong about this, but my opinion is dwarves are always put into two categories. They're either comic relief or they're the dour, nasty, I'm grumpy all the time. And I said, those are great, but what about the fun-loving dwarf? I mean, my main character is a dwarven bard, and he is I don't know what to say. The guy's a player.
No,
so
I think I love
fun.
that I've seen some more people willing to do the dwarves as characters. Davis Ashura, he took a really neat spin on his dwarves where they were actually really more artsy and spiritual,
right?
And craftsmen.
Right.
And then Mark Edelheit did a dwarven trilogy, which was a coming of age dwarven style. So I mean, I think it's great because honestly, as much as I do love elves, and humans are okay. I've known a lot of humans, but it's just neat to see some of the different kind of styles of characters coming out and the different races too.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun, and I didn't stick with
did we lose
tried and true stuff.
I'm listening.
Came up with classes of my own, dwarven bards and
I think
engineers, things like that.
Some
Sorry,
of those
JR.
trolls, so I can't talk because no, I said I think I dated some of those trolls, so I can't talk about it because NDAs were signed. It got ugly.
That's okay.
Come on, JR.
It's funny in my head. And he was like, "Wait, yeah, I believe that." Doc, you're supposed to laugh. All right, I need a laugh emoji so that way, like, when we're talking when you're supposed to laugh, like maybe a clap jar or whatever, like they have on TV. We'll figure it out.
I'm laughing on the inside.
There we go.
So, on to fantasy, because we're definitely here for the fantasy hour. How about it? Lord of the Rings, The Wheel of Time, or Game of Thrones?
Yeah, I have to go. I probably wouldn't pick any of those if I didn't have to.
Okay, so what would you pick?
Oh, I would pick, my favorite author is David Gemmell, and his Regante series to me is, second to none. Now, of course, Game of Thrones, I really like the show. I'm not going to tell you I hated the book, but to me, I need characters I can relate to. Except for Arya, I didn't really like any of the characters, and I'm sure you've read the book. But you remember Jon Snow, he wasn't very friendly in the beginning. He was kind of a jerk. And, the Ned Stark, I was like, are you this clueless? They're going to betray. Well, what did you think was going to, get a clue, dude. I don't know what to say. So, and Lord of the Rings, of course, is the grandfather of them all. I'm not going to say anything negative about it. It's a great show.
No, but
it's a great read.
You can just not jive with it, though, too. That's totally... I have read Lord of the Rings, and while it is great, and it was wonderful to see, it is definitely a font of where current modern fantasy has come from.
Yes.
It was not it is not the fantasy that I crave.
Right. Well, especially as we get, a bit older and we see more and we experience more. Like, that was great when I was young and I enjoyed it. And Wheel of Time, I really loved it. The first 4, 5, 6 books. And then for some reason, I don't understand. Robert Jordan said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a lot, but not have anything actually happen. And I felt like going, why? Wait, what is?
See,
what
that's what I call
my main characters.
That's what I call the fluff writing.
Yeah, I'm not interested in doing that. And and don't get me wrong, Robert Jordan's brilliant. He's great. He has a great series. I have nothing but respect for him as a writer and an author. I just felt like he got a little off track. I sat there going, why do I care about this character? There's like 8 million of them. So to me, and you know what? I think for me, it was a lesson learned when I wrote my series. I try to stay focused on the main people. And it doesn't mean secondary characters can't come in because they feed into everything. But I try to stick with what I want to and what's the main story. Because I kind of learned that from Jordan. I was like, I don't want to go too far afield.
I like what Faith Hunter and several more current authors have done with their secondary characters. Rather than let them steal the show and make... or steal the series, they've just done spun-off series, and they've gone, you know what, this character's so neat, I get it, I want to write more of it too. Oh, look, new series.
Yeah, right.
And I really like that because it gives everybody, both the author and the reader, the best of everything.
Well said. That's all good advice as well.
So, well, JR.
So if you're taking notes, you can scribble that down. Publishing advice from Doc Cisca, con extraordinaire. A knower of all things fandom.
No, I am not. However, somebody recently tried to convince me I should get a master's in publishing.
Is that a thing? I didn't know you could do
It
that.
is a thing. But I looked at them and I went, I want to run my own publishing house. So what would I do with it?
Publish, I guess. Publish stuff. I don't know.
I don't know. So, JR, we are going to now ask him what his first memory of engaging in speculative fiction is. Is it watching, playing, pretending you know what you're doing? I don't know. For me, it was probably pretending I knew what I was doing.
Yeah. That's a good one. We're going to take that.
My first foray into the fantasy fiction world was actually my father actually bought my older brother, the very first basic set of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, wow.
And my brother was like, yeah, this is cool. And I was like, can I take a look at that? And as I started reading through it, I was like, this is really fun, man. Have you ever heard of dwarves? What is a gnome? I'm looking at it. I mean,
Kenders. What was your favorite species?
Well, Kenders, that was a Dragonlance. My favorite species, God. I mean, I actually dabble a bit. I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in forever, and they have all these new things now. I was like, what is that? I would say I was pretty excited about, being a half elf. I was like, oh, you get the strength of the human, but the elven side as well. How can you not fall in love with dragons? Come on. I mean, one of my first adventures, a red dragon torched everybody but me. And I was like, I have to fight this thing by myself. So it was pretty terrifying, especially because I somehow prevailed. I don't really remember how, because it was 30 some odd years ago. But yeah, that was my first foray into fantasy land, if you will.
Don't worry about it. We'll edit out the years. We'll be like, that was.
I don't worry about it. I don't care. So, but that's not bothering me.
We, now that we're all parents here, can we take a moment and just feel the pain your father must have felt when he spent all that money to buy the books for your brother, and he's like, yeah, it's cool and all, but thanks, but no thanks. Because I've done that a few times with my oldest.
It's less about the money and it's more about the time in spending trying to find the right thing.
Yes, I bought, because my son, we went to a game shop and they had Warhammer and they were playing it. It's like, I want to play this, Daddy. So I spent the money and I bought the starter kit of Warhammer 40K. And then he realized there was math involved and he's like, nope, I'm done. And I'm like, kid, I can't return this.
Well, he might enjoy
Luckily,
it. Luckily,
I donated it to a friend. No, he moved on. It's cool, but I gave it away to a military buddy. But it was just like, ooh, that hurts. Now I'm like, we're gonna go in super cheap, and then if you like it, we'll talk.
I can't say anything since I have 2 Warhammer armies downstairs.
Nice. Well, if I had known
dwarves and the greenskins.
I have Sisters of Battle, which is the 40K, and I have Wood Elves, which is the fantasy version.
Okay.
Can you mix the two together? If you've got one army or a different army, can like the two game systems collide?
No.
The fantasy Warhammer and the other one?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think the Wood Elves are going to shoot their sticks at the laser gun wielding.
The thing is, like, Warhammer Fantasy is built more on classical military strategies. Wood Elves are more of a skirmisher than most of the units in there, but you're talking more like Roman Legion tactics, whereas Warhammer 40K is more, it's not really a skirmish, but the movement is more of a skirmish style movement. You don't have as many movement trays that you have to work on. So no, JR, you can't. He just likes to see if I'll lose my brain one day because he says something stupid.
I don't think it's stupid. I'm just inquiring minds want to know. I've never played Warhammer.
Because JR is at a loss for words, we're going to continue on with what is it that you love about speculative fiction as a genre?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the building of the worlds and seeing how they interact, the characters interact, and I was on with my publisher and our narrator, Joshua Saxon, is brilliant. He's so talented. And one of the compliments that he had given me was when he talked about my book. He said, this could be an espionage novel, and the magic in the background just is thrown in because it's a fantasy novel, but it's so well written. You just believe everything that you read, and when magic does come in or these fantastical creatures do come in, it's just you're like, hey, of course that's what's there. That fits the world. He's made this incredible place, and to me that was kind of the big thing. I really enjoyed that. It was really nice of him to say. But I like creating, I like making these fantastic worlds, and I love populating with these characters, and all those little details, the names of the coins, the types of coins, the short vernacular for the coins, how the nobles might say it, how the street people might say it. All of that stuff builds to that world, as I'm sure you know, but that's something I really enjoy.
So do you see yourself playing in any of the other, I mean, right now, obviously we're here to talk about your epic fantasy, we'll get to in a few minutes, but do you see yourself ever playing in the other sort of subgenre categories that Doc doesn't like to think about of fantasy, like the urban fantasy mix the fantastical and the modern?
Oh yeah, there's no question. I was lucky enough to get into an anthology, which was it came from the trailer park, and that's an urban horror fantasy, and I had never written anything like that. And my publisher said,
That's
"Hey
a
man,
great
you
way
want to
to
put in a
spread.
story?" Yeah. And when I started writing, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to write my main character is going to be a 44-year-old woman from the South, and that's going to be the point of view that I'm going to type and write about. And so I just went. I said, all right, this is going to be fun. And I gave her such an attitude, and she was snarky. She was absolutely so much fun to write. So yes, I do plan on dipping my toe into the other genres. Yes.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks.
I might know some of those snarky Southern women from the trailer park.
You know what? Your mother is beautifully snarky.
She is, but she likes you more, so she's off my island. So we'll move on.
That's okay, because she owns the ocean.
You quoting her, and I'm going to get no end of crap from her for Doc. You're fired. You know what? I'm docking your pay. Let's move on.
Okay.
I can step away if you guys need to hash something out.
No. This is just how JR and I show.
Okay.
The army broke us. This is how we show affection, or actually just tolerance for each other.
Some of our normal army greetings are not family friendly, so we have to edit ourselves accordingly. Like, hey, F face is probably not what Anchor FM wants on shows that they put ads on.
For
So,
any children, it means fish face.
fish face,
That's
absolutely.
what it actually
I had to
is.
explain it to my 9-year-old that it means fish face.
We're
Okay.
going to stick with that one and move right along, Doc.
Hey, it is the fantasy hour. So, on to what about how did your love of the genre transition into your writing in it?
I think that it's actually my disgust for some of the books that I read. I was like, I remember I felt like there was a rule. I was like, if I buy a book, I have to finish the book. And I remember getting through it. I'm not going to say the series. I'm not going to say the author, nothing like that. But I got halfway through. I was like, this is just terrible. How did this get published? And I remember I was only like 13 or 14 years old. And I sat there and said, I feel like I could write a better story than this. Now, as a 13 or 14-year-old, I could not write a story that was better than that.
But you knew you had the potential.
Well, I certainly wanted to. I don't know if I had the potential. I mean, to me, people ask me, how long does it take to write a book? I was like, you can write a book quickly. The real question is, how long does it take to write a good book? And I'm hoping mine are good, but it takes a long time. So yeah, when I started reading some books I didn't care for, I finally said, I think I was 22 or 23 years old. I said, I'm going to start my own. It was just going to be a story. It wasn't anything. I was like, I'm going to start writing. And 25 years later, after decades of working on it, I finally got to the point where I was like, I'm ready to send this to a publisher. And luckily 3 Rings came along, and I remember they told me, well, we'll hear from you. You'll hear from us in maybe 10 months. I said, okay, well, I guess. I think it was like 4 days later, I heard from Scott, and I was like, I thought you said 10 months, you know? And he, he was great. He called me, we spoke on the phone. He was absolutely fantastic. So I'm glad I got it in, and I'm glad I went for it. So yeah, but that's how I started. It wasn't, I mean, there was a lot of things I loved about so many authors that I would love to put in, that kind of thing into my book. But reading stuff I didn't like, I've said, man, I could do better than this. I'm going to do better. I want to do better. I want to write a story that I would want to read. And that's really what happened with my series.
Okay, so let's just hope you're not a special snowflake then, and there are other people that want to read what you like to read, or would like to read, I should say. So, all right. So many authors will let their own real life experiences influence the stories they tell. So were there any specific formidable moments that shape you as a storyteller?
Oh, all the time. All the time. I mean, whether it was something I experienced when I was in the military, even a certain way someone may have addressed me at some time. Whether if I liked it, I might add that as, oh, here's something good, or here's a compliment. Or many times people that are not very nice to me, I'll sit there and say, oh, okay, I'm going to write a character similar to that person. So yeah, I get influenced all the time.
In horrible ways.
I mean, sometimes, but we'll see. I don't want to say too much about it. But yeah, there's always an influence, and I'm a teacher in real life, so I get all kinds of, students asking me questions, and the way they answer things, and the things that I see that they deal with. I'm like, some of this I can use, some of it I can't, but just not being afraid to do things throughout my life. I mean,
so
when
what
I went
do
to
you
school,
teach?
well, I currently am the PE teacher at our school. Before that, I taught 5th grade for many, many years, 18 years or so.
Wow.
And I'm just finishing my 23rd year in the school district. So, but right now I am living the dream. Like, you guys want to play kickball? Let's go play kickball all day. It's the best.
So do you make them do like square dancing like I remember my elementary school PE teachers did? That was horrific, by the way.
No,
I
don't make them do. I mean, I probably could, but no, we do other things. And square dancing, nothing wrong with square dancing. It's fine. But, I'm working on.
If you want to read his books and you like square
things.
dancing, he still loves you.
I'm not really the square dancing type.
I don't think we've ever had anyone quite so diplomatic on the show before.
But it wasn't 5th grade. It's a little older than that, JR.
I don't remember. It all blurs together, but can we take a moment and bask in the fact that we've never had anyone on the show quite as diplomatic as Michael here?
What are you talking about? I am Joe Switzerland. I am not taking sides on anything.
Sometimes that is diplomatic.
Absolutely. So
I just want to get invited back, so I don't want to get yelled at.
So you mentioned that you were in the Army. So we ask all of our authors that are veterans this question, but how do you feel like your time as a soldier affects the stories you tell?
Well, I mean, so many fantasy things have to do with military and ranks and the way people are portrayed in those ways. It's really nice to have some knowledge of that, some background. And, just in my steampunk novel with the Dwarves, I have an engineer who one of their weapons is a rifle. And I remember all that training I got on how to shoot the rifle. And all of that stuff comes into play, the way to throw the grenade and what the different grenades do. I mean, there's quite a bit from my military background that is helpful when I'm writing these things. And the funny stuff happens too.
Throwing the grenade was like the best part.
That was fun. That was a cool.
Or you get the idiots who drop the grenade and throw the pin instead. That's always pleasant.
We did have someone like that. They used to draw stuff on their helmets, right? So they messed up. Like the people that stared at the grenade, they would draw these big eyes. I was like, why are you looking? They told you a million times not to look.
Yeah,
so
so much fun.
You mentioned using some of what you did in the Army into your fantasy novel. So what exactly did you do in the Army?
Oh, I actually did 2 MOSs. The first one I did was a medical lab technician. You want somebody to study urine? I'm your guy. You want someone to take a look at your fecal matter? Look no further. Drawing blood? I can do that. Our old motto was stick and move. That's what we did. Lab Tech, 92 Bravo. That's right. And after I moved to Nevada, I don't find this funny at all. I don't know what you're laughing about. After I moved to Nevada, I went to 92 Alpha, I think, which was supply, which was perfectly fine too. But they didn't have any medical lab technician spots here. I would have had to driven all, to California, and I didn't really want to do that. But I will always be a lab.
I do not blame you.
That was my thing.
Nope. I am laughing because I remember when we did the shot training in AIT.
Yeah.
And that was so much fun.
Yeah, there's some people we didn't want drawing blood. We're like, can we he's gonna lop off my arm. That's not the kind of blood we're drawing here. Yeah, we had a few dangerous people like that, but we got through it eventually.
I took the combat lifesaver course. We jokingly called it the lick 'em and stick 'em because you got to wipe them with the alcohol wipe and then just give them the saline. It's pretty much all we did. And Dockie's laughing because I tell her the minimal level of training they gave us when I was in to do that. I got out of the Army as she was going in, and I was bad enough at the whole needle thing that they're like, just stick with putting holes in people and let us fix them. So they did not ever let me carry the CLS bag after that. I mean, I got it on my 214. It says I did the course, but yeah, I was never allowed to take the 8 bag.
I mean, it's America's Army, the most powerful army in the world, right?
Right.
Some people are not meant to be around sharp, pointy things.
And I was perfectly okay with that. I only went because the command made me. But so you talked about, how the military affects the way you tell stories. Do you ever draw specifically for people you knew while you were serving, while you write?
Yes, usually the drill sergeants, because they were such character.
They were just on your mind.
Yes, they are embedded in there. And we used to have this one little, he's a Puerto Rican guy, and he was fine. He yelled more than all the other ones, and he was not big. But he would come up to us. He'd be like, "Hey, you, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Dude, why are you yelling at me?" I remember one day I went to show him my rifle, which I didn't get a chance to clean. And he says to me, "Son, I'll be surprised if that doesn't blow up in your face." And I started cracking up like, "Oh, yes, drill sergeant." And I just took off. I mean, these guys were... Yes, they make an impression on me. They are definitely part of my show, if you will.
I will admit this. The hardest part is when you discover you have a fear reaction to laugh and you're in basic training.
I actually was not afraid of him at that time. There were other times when he scared me, but that time I was laughed because I was like, I'm going to get in trouble, and I knew it. But whatever, there's nothing I can do about it. But I know what you mean.
My favorite was a drill sergeant who said, "You privates, all you want to do is eat, sleep, shit, and use up all my goddamn toilet paper." And he said it just like that. I never forgot that one. I don't remember anything else about the man, but and I've used that line on my kids a few times. So
they leave the mark. It's indelible.
I find I have been known to walk out of a parenting situation and go, "I'm starting to sound too like my drill sergeants." Which it doesn't help that my drill sergeants, all of them were from the South, which means my accent gets even thicker. And when I'm like, I got you, boo boo, I got you. And then I started counting. I was smoking my kid yesterday, and I started counting like my drill sergeants, and I'm like, I'm not sure I feel okay with this.
So we don't get CPS called for parenting lessons on why you don't smoke your kids, and she means physically, not like with narcotics or drugs or anything like that.
I made him do 10 push-ups.
10?
That's nothing.
Okay, I made him and his two friends do 10 push-ups, and some of them I don't think have ever seen push-ups before.
So the PE teacher sitting next to you is saying those are rookie numbers and you need to get them up. But so Michael,
I didn't say anything. I'm just saying that's not that many.
I'm just saying we can read body language. But so does your time in the Army affect the way you engage with content as a reader? We've talked about how it affects the way you tell the stories, but thinking about when you engage with things as just a fan of the content, does your time in the Army change how you read things or watch the shows?
Oh yeah, it definitely does. I'll go ahead and look at a show, and I'm like, that's not the way it's done. his insignia is on the wrong side. What is going on? Who is in charge? Yeah, I will sit there and critique it when I don't. I try not to do that, but sometimes I'm just sitting there going, who put this together? What's your first general order? You don't know. You don't know. You don't even know what a general order is. So yeah, it does affect it, and especially when I'm reading, And then on the other side, there's people that write stuff. I'm like, wow, this person knows what they're talking about. This is excellent.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was absolutely convinced that they got the uniforms wrong on purpose so the government didn't get mad at them because they're not like impersonating. But now looking at it, like having been in the industry that creates creative content, I know they just didn't have a freaking clue. Because in theory you can't impersonate military personnel. So I'm like, oh, they had to get it wrong. But now we know better. And Doc is rolling her eyes at me and trying to hide it. It's okay, Doc. You're gonna be okay. Ask him the fandom questions. These are your favorite questions.
They are some of my absolute favorite questions. Right behind JR, when was the last time you slept? No, I'm kidding. So, one second. Have you had any cool fan art of any of your work or cosplay yet?
So I have not had any fan art. I did have a young lady who was so excited about my first book that she actually made me a T-shirt with the emblem on it, and she sent it to me, and I was very excited. I was like, I wear that thing all the time. Now I will say that the art that you see, I'm going to hold up my book for just a moment. The art that you see here, there we go. Yeah, the art that you see in this book and the second book, this artwork was actually done by the students at our local high school. I contacted the graphic arts teacher there, and she's just a wonderful woman. And William, my publisher, and I, or Scott, William, whatever you want to call him by his pen name, he and I went and we zoomed in because this was during the pandemic, and we spoke to them about the book, and we had like 40 or 50 kids enter a contest, and the winners signed a contract with 3 Ravens. And so the person who came in first got the cover, and the second place person did the logo, which I will show right there, the logo art.
Oh wow!
And then another student this year did the I'll put it back up. Another student this year did the cover of the other book. That's the logo.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so it was a really great. No, it was a great. I was so impressed with the talent that the kids had. But it was what I liked best about it. Yeah, was that they got a chance to be published. I mean, every time this book goes out there, I mean, I've sent these to England, to Australia, to New Zealand. Those kids' work is all over the world, and it's they're given their recommendation or they're given their credit inside the book. So it was a win-win for everybody. Even the kids that didn't win, I think it was really cool that they got that experience. And of course, there's the teacher in me. So
no, but I think that's really awesome because they get the chance to learn that if they want to go into art, particularly commercial art, where you're making money by transactions and representing people's ideas, learning to listen to those is hard.
Oh, it's extremely competitive.
Teaches you tons of skills. I have plenty of friends who are artists, tons of skills about how to do this, how to draw this, beautiful, fine stuff. But they don't necessarily teach you the listen to your client skills and how to interpret your client skills. So that's phenomenal. There's Writers of the Future has a partnership with a uncreatively same named company called Illustrators of the Future. They're actually done by the same group. And they do something similar, but on a different scale. And that's so awesome though.
Well, I mean, the third book, and I keep telling the teacher, I was like, I got more books coming out. So we're going to keep doing this as long as we can. As long as the artwork is good. And we had to turn away work that was phenomenal. One kid, God, he did a phenomenal piece. And the problem was it was too anime. And I told him, I was like, I can't really. But if that had been a comic book cover, that would have won. It was beautiful. I actually felt bad. I was like, we have to say no to this. But it's not because it's not good. It's ridiculously good. It just didn't fit what we were going for. So, yeah, it was great. And my publisher was great too.
The scope of it. So that's really awesome.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I was thrilled for the kids, and I was thrilled for me. I was like, I got a great cover. I get a ton of people telling me how much they love the covers, and I get to tell. That's what actually my favorite thing to talk about is not me. It's the cover that the kids did. That's what I like.
The covers are amazing. I would have never guessed that they were high school kids.
Yeah, they were.
So
yeah,
did
they
you
were
did you
awesome.
have any like did you have any pushback when you were setting that up? Because I've never heard of anyone doing it like that, but that is awesome.
No, the when I contacted the teacher, she was like, "Yeah, we can do it." And the funny thing is that I didn't even have a contract yet with my publisher. He contacted me like the next day. And when I told him, I was like, "Oh, by the way, I kind of made this deal, with these kids and the teacher, so we don't have to do." He's like, "Oh my God, we're doing that. That sounds awesome. I mean, we love to give back to the community." And I knew right then, I was like, "I've signed with the right publisher." It was really cool.
So how did you find him?
Oh man, just luck. Just luck. I was sitting there going through one of my, many Facebook groups. And I tried self-publishing, and there's nothing wrong with self-publishing, but after about a month, I was like, I need marketing help. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to try to see if I can find a publisher, and I really hadn't tried that before. And I happened to see Charity Ayers, her book Loki Bound had come out, and they had shown something on one of these websites that said, "Hey, this is a new release." And I clicked on it. I was like, "Oh, that's a cool looking book." And I looked at Three Ravens Publishing, and it mentioned that they're taking open submissions. And I was like, "Well, I'm going to take a look and see if it's legit. If it's not, one of these other publishers where they say, oh, just $5,000 and we'll publish your book." Yeah, I didn't want to do vanity press.
That's such a danger.
Right. Well, once I saw that, I was like, what? I like it. And since my story is called The Raven and the Crow, that's the name of the series. I was like, you know what? I think it's a little bit of a sign, and I'm not a big believer in that, but in this, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and put in. And like I said, I was like, well, 10 months, I'll have to wait. I heard back that week, so it was really exciting to hear. But that's how I was just dumb luck. Really, that's how I got on there.
Cool.
So,
what can I tell you?
Back to your fandom questions, Doc.
Back to my fandom question. So has anyone asked you for your autograph out in public?
So they asked me for an autograph if they buy the books. I've sent out maybe almost 400 signed copies of my book. So I can't say that they've come up and said, "You're so famous. Can you autograph my, my forehead?" No, nothing like that. But I have put out many autographs to my book. My brothers love to tease me. They're like, oh, Michael K. Falciani. Yeah, could you sign this? I'm like, shut up. Because that's my pen name. It's not my real name. So they love to tease me. And I have a lot of brothers and sisters in the book. So they're constantly being referenced because I grew up with them. Everyone's like, how do you have such realistic banter? I was like, oh, because I have brothers and sisters. That's how. And they're merciless, all of them. I love them. They're wonderful.
Absolutely. That's how it works.
Right.
So, what was it like the first time you had somebody ask you to sign your book?
I mean, fireworks, passion, the dream of a new America, I mean, I don't know what to say. It was exciting. I was like, really? You want me to sign it? I was like, I remember the first time I sat there, I started signing my real name. I was like, you idiot, don't ruin this book. So yeah, it was, I still get a little thrill, sometimes I'm like, I guess you can see where you're like, I'm sick of signing these. I never feel like that. I'm like, people are talking to me about the book.
I don't think anybody ever feels like that, but I think the one time I've ever heard an author who felt like that, it's not so much that they felt like that, it's that they had really bad carpal tunnel. They're like, I can't.
Oh, yeah, that makes.
So
I understand.
I was so nervous the first time because I don't normally, like, when I sign my name for real for like checks or whatever, I just scribble. I don't even make attempts to make my cursive legible. But when you're signing autographs, they kind of want to be able to read that it's your name. And I was so nervous about getting the cursive right that I spelled my name wrong.
Yeah.
So you're already one up on me.
Wait. And people wonder why I pick on you.
It's all good.
Just say.
All right, Doc. You got to get your last fandom question before you die. I can't let you die on the show.
So have you had any fun or weird fan interactions yet that you want to tell us about?
So
other than your siblings don't count.
I
My
mean,
brother's
nothing appropriate that I would say. No, I'm kidding. I haven't really had. I've had quite a few people reach out to me. I've had a couple people come up to me and say, "Hey, you're that guy. I saw you on the news. Remember when you were on the news?" Like, well, I remember when I was on the news. Do you remember when I was on the news? But other than that, I really haven't had a ton. I'm a very new author. I wish I could tell you I've sold thousands of. I've sold hundreds. I feel good about that. But I haven't really had anybody say too much to me. Once in a while, I'll get somebody say, "Hey, you're Michael K. Falciani." I'm like, I am Michael K. Falciani. Who are you and why do you know this? Oh, I saw it on your book. I was like, oh, cool. Or it's in the newspaper. People will say, oh, I saw you in the newspaper. Okay, that's great. But nothing awesome that I can tell you. I wish I had. Maybe at LibertyCon, I'll do some, some smoozing or something with some of the super famous people.
So if you want to be his first weird or funny interaction with a fan, you can sign up for his newsletter and get to know him a little better, and you could become the weird stalker. I mean, you could become Doc Cisca.
Right? That's fine.
You too can be the weird
don't
fan.
stalk anybody. That involves way too much work.
All right,
I can attest
it
does involve a lot of work.
Take a lot of work.
It's exhausting.
Speaking of work, we're going to take a moment where we shamelessly shill for the man and pause for a commercial interlude.
In a galaxy tied together by the magic of the elite jump mages, new graduate Damian Montgomery is in search of his first assignment. Without elite blood ties and high-powered connections, he can't find a ship to sign on to. A pirate attack left David White with a damaged freighter and a dead jump mage. The dead mage's grieving father blacklists him and makes it impossible to hire a replacement. Without a mage to jump his ship, he's stranded. When their desperate needs meet, Damien is drawn into a conflict with the most powerful criminal organization in the galaxy and draws the attention of the Mage King of Mars himself. Starship's Mage, the first book in a science fantasy series by Glenn Stewart, is available on Kindle and Audible.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us for that commercial. Doc is trying not to die as she chokes on her water. And instead, we're going to go back to talking about the books. So you're going to survive, Doc? I know it was a long commercial.
Yeah, no, my eye's just bothering me. It's allergy season. And
it's allergy season. Yep. So this is the part, Michael, where we talk about everything you have written. So can you give us the Reader's Digest version of your body of work?
So, yes, this won't take that long. I don't have that many books out yet. The first one is my first novel, The Raven and the Crow, Dark Storm Rising. The second one is The Raven and the Crow, The Grey Throne, which had just come out. The third book in the series, I actually am on, I'm on chapter 12, I think. That one will be called The Raven and the Crow, Shores of Blood. Now, I do have a new novel that's coming out. My publisher and I was just talking about it this week. This is the aforementioned steampunk, dwarven, epic, high fantasy novel. I had to make sure I threw every single genre in there, or subgenre. And they're all true. And that one is called The Dwarves of Rahm, Omens of War. I was lucky enough to write for an anthology, which is also up for an Imogen Award, which was, it came from the Trailer Park, an urban story that I wrote, an urban fantasy called Hell Hath No Fury. And then I have another one
like
that
a redneck scorned.
Well, I'm not going to say anything about it, but it's very fun.
You have to pick up the story, and then you can make all the comments.
I did have a comment about it, but perhaps I can tell you later if you guys ask me. But another one that I'm working on is one called The White Death. We put in for JT Posthumous Embers of Corsari, which is another anthology coming out. It hasn't been accepted yet, so I'm hoping, JT, I hope you like it. And then I have one other one. Oh, the volume 2 of the Trailer Park is also coming out. So I haven't written that short story yet, but I have a great idea of what I want to do. So those are my published works and my upcoming works, so to speak.
Okay, so that all sounds fascinating, but today we're going to talk about the Raven and the Crow, the Dark Storm Rising. So,
Yes.
what was how did you get the premise for this story? Like, where did you come up with the idea?
Oh, it's so
Too much
dumb.
time in gym class.
No, I wish.
Too many huffing too many cleaners. Cleaning those mats.
I'm gonna let Doc answer this. She's all over it. I like her answers better than mine. So, you know, as somebody who's been a fantasy fan forever, you know, I always have ideas rattling around in my head. But I was actually working. It was my first summer here in Nevada, and I had not been to Nevada. The scorching temperature is 100+ degrees. I didn't realize summers there was no clouds. It was all blue sky, hot air, dry. I was not used to that. And I was working
Yeah, it's a great way to dehydrate everything.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I was not ready. And I was working at a steel factory that my mother-in-law got me a job out there. I like to think of it as survival of the fittest now that I think back to it. But as I was working out there, I was actually working as a rebar fabricator. And I had to make these, gigantic rings. They had to have been 10 feet across. And I had to make, 30 or 40 of these things. And then I had to somehow carry these things across the wonderfully named boneyard. And as I was walking along with this gigantic ring, I said, I wish I could just set this down and step through it and portal my way over there. And the light went on. I said, oh, that would be kind of a fun thing in a fantasy story. And once I had that idea, I just said, I'm going to roll with it. Now, of course, many things have changed since then, but that's where I got the original idea to say, I'm going to write a story about that. And that's where it happened, on the dry desert boneyard of the steel factory that I was working on. Getting paid $7.50 an hour. Boom. That's right.
Those were the big bones back in the day.
I don't like to brag, but that's what I was getting paid.
So before we dig in, I am going.
This is why
Doc, try not to.
You got to go for at least a skill, if not like educate. Like a college degree isn't the only way, but definitely get a skill. Whew.
Yes, I would.
All right, so we're gonna
look at that's a good look.
We are gonna take a moment and you've told us how the process of getting the art cover. So instead, let's twist that question a little bit. How did you pick what you wanted them to draw? Like what you told them, hey, this is what I want the cover to have.
So yeah, William and I went in. He talked to them about the publishing process, and the illustration process and how it had to pop and had to be great. I went and I explained several of the scenes to the students. I talked to them about, this is what's happening here. I wanted to say, listen, this isn't some happy-go-lucky fairy tale. This is a dark story. It takes place up in the mountains. I talked about this waterfall that we see here. I talked about, it's called the Mirrored Falls. And I had several different ideas that kids sent in. This one was one of the waterfall ideas. And when I saw this, I think my publisher and I just said, holy cow. Now, the great thing about working with so many kids is that you see we have the two swords there that are sticking in the water. I think it was Willie who said, you know what? I saw that on another entry, and the entry didn't win, but he liked that idea. And I said the same thing. I was like, yeah, that's brilliant. And so we put those swords in. I remember on another entry, I saw this long red tassel blowing off something else. I said, we should put like a red tassel on the swords. So even though those kids didn't win, that all those ideas made it into this one. And this became the cover. But that's what, I gave the kids scenes. I gave them access to read the book. I gave them whatever they wanted as far as being motivated to do it. And the student who won this, Damian King was the name. When I spoke to him, he said, yeah, I just went with what you said. And I wanted to make this scene. And there we go. It was beautiful. It was well done.
Okay. So when they submitted these, were they line drawings or did they color them as well?
They were called that student submitted this exact thing. And it had the title and everything on there. The only thing that wasn't on there were the swords with the ribbon. Everything else was on there. So it was all, it wasn't handwritten, nothing like that. It was just like this. It was computer. It's that graphics design class. So that's what they sent in.
So what does, like, I wasn't able to find a picture of the wraparound that the paperback would, I mean, the paperback or hardback would have.
Oh, okay.
Is the image on the back just static color, or does the image carry through?
No, yeah, it does not carry through.
Right.
It's just kind of the back cover is just kind of black.
Okay, well, if it doesn't carry through, we won't worry about putting it full screen. But okay, if you
Yeah.
did it again, do you think you would ask for a full wraparound image for the hardback and whatnot on the dust jacket, or do you like the idea?
JR, that's a great question. I basically was so new. I was like, you guys do whatever you want. I don't care. I just want a cover that's good. So maybe I would.
It's
I would
a good
have to
image.
talk
I like it.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I'd have to ask my publisher.
I would have never guessed
I leave
the kid
those
drew
questions
this.
to him. Yeah, why not?
Colorblind,
I would love that.
I just let the publishers do their thing, and even if the publisher is me, I got minions for that. I don't too many colors, but I do like the image. I'm still surprised that a kid drew that.
Yeah, no, they did
that's
a great
amazing.
job. The second book was,
So what grades were they in? Because the class
student was a senior. Yeah, this kid
were
was
all
a
of them
senior
that
in high
submitted
school.
seniors.
No, there was some sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So some of them got a chance to do the second book also. And then, and it will continue. Like I said, we'll continue giving him a shot at it. So we'll see how it goes.
That is awesome. I still like that. So you want to keep doing that with all of your books, or was this just for this series?
I think for this series, we're going to do this. Probably not with the dwarf book, because those books, I definitely want faces and, more people, or in this case, dwarves, or whether it's the Sallow-skins. I want them on there. So I have a feeling we'll go with a different publisher. Not to say the kids couldn't do a great job, but they're still learning. So for me, I think this would probably be a little bit harder for those kids to do. It's the dwarf books. So I think we're going to go with different illustrators for that.
So, Doc, is it sad that I like this cover better than some of what Trad Club's putting out for fantasy covers these days? That look like they're supposed to be too artsy-fartsy instead of an actual cool
As
image?
in the case of all things with fandom, you're allowed to like what you like. And I'm not going to call you out on it as being bad, unless, of course, it's not pineapple on pizza.
Pineapple on pizza is a heresy. I'm glad you finally agree. For me, it's
not
not even about the
said
quality
it's
of the book.
not. I love pineapple on pizza.
I just don't like the images. Some of these images, I'm just like, yeah, that's not doing it for me. I hope the dust jacket on the back has a good description. But
I really like this one. It stands out. It's unique. It has an epic feel of being like a painting. So
thank you.
Like it.
Yeah, no, I really like it.
It does.
Thank you.
I could see that on your wall too if you
got
that printed.
It brings in a lot of influence. Like I can see some influence from like anime and some of the artwork style of how some of the lines are drawn in a good way, though. So
thank you.
The good news is if you like his books and you do art that's fan art, you send it to him. He's not opposed to buying it and potentially using it if it's good enough. So now you have your motivation, people, because he's already proven
it's kind of true.
He's not a snob. Good art, he doesn't care if you have a pedigree. So let's move on to the book itself. So what would your 30-second elevator pitch be for this novel?
Oh, I have it right here. I'm gonna read it because it's every time I try to say it, I always mess it up. But here it is. Here's my best movie toad voice, if you will. Two brothers struggle to find their place in the world. For the elder sibling Kildare, every morning begins with the memory of betrayal. Once governed by the principles of morality, Kildare has become an instrument of blood and steel, where the speed of his sword arm meets out his own brand of justice. Only the strength and resolve of his brother Zidane keeps him from succumbing to the ever-present rage that burns behind his dark eyes. While employed by the mysterious sage Blade, the pair stumble across Chameleon, a runaway tribeswoman displaying extraordinary psychic powers. Their meeting, however, is no chance encounter. A riddle Chameleon carries will change not only the fate of the three, but the fate of the entire world. Doom.
Okay.
So that's it. So yeah, this is an epic fantasy.
So
it's definitely gritty.
2 out of 10. We'll give you a 2 out of 10 on the movie trailer voice, but an 8 out of 10 on the actual 30-second elevator pitch.
Okay,
but I'm going to also have to comment. that as a member of the American PE Teachers Association, he has to tell you, take the stairs, not the elevator, people. It'll save your life someday.
That is true.
I know. That's what my PE teacher always told me. Stop you from having a heart
I never
attack.
say that stuff.
It's like in your handbook. What you didn't read the PE manual?
No.
Oh, I was a PT beast in the military. I'm talking 300 right here, back in the day. But
well,
these guys know what I'm talking about. They had a
so
PT score. PT 300 was the maximum you could get. So
back in the day, like because it's a Navy town, there were a lot of former Seabees or retired bitter SEALs that were PE instructors around here. So they always tried to murder us in class. It was just a thing, as you do.
No, I was just remembering the last time I got fussed at for taking the elevator, and I had the best comeback ever you could have in the Army.
Which was?
He goes, special as well, because I was pregnant at the time. And he goes, Al-Qaeda doesn't have elevators. And I went, they don't have sergeant majors or colonels either.
I'll take it.
Thank goodness I was 7 months pregnant. I got away with it.
Oh, goodness.
I found that in the early GWAT, you could get away with a lot because they were more worried about the war. But I wouldn't try that at home, people in the modern Army, because, they're not in the sandbox as much. So they probably.
I would love to see what a healthy soldier would get smoked with for that to a sergeant major. However, as I said, I was 7 months pregnant. So
you do get the I'm making a human life in my belly pass. So instead, we're going to go back to talking to Michael.
I couldn't breathe if I tried going up 3 flights of stairs, and they wanted me upstairs. So
that is fair. So with my blunt force segue, Michael, what do you think makes your Dark Raven or the Raven and the Crow series special?
Oh, there's so much here. I think the character interplay is. I'm not going to say how great it is, but in my opinion, it's really just realistic. It's fun. It's a dark, gritty novel. These are more anti-heroes than heroes. It's the opening scene starts off, and it could be anywhere. It happens in a small underneath a castle gate, as I recall. It's just gritty realism with fantasy kind of overlapping the rest. I have heard people tell me that one of the things they liked the best about it was just the world building, the way the characters interact with one another. It's very believable. It's very real. It's something that they feel like when they see it or they read it, they just say, "Man, how did you come up with this?" And I just say, "Yeah, I got a lot going on up here. I don't know." But to me, and it's just a fun kind of read where you quickly get entrenched in what's happening, and you're like, all right, I want to see what happens with these guys. And as I heard recently, they always do the opposite of what you think they're going to do. And I don't know if that's true or not, but somebody said that to me. I said, well, there you have it. So, and there's a second storyline which deals with a princess, and they're vying for the crown. There's going to be a new high lord, and whoever marries this girl, this is the laws of this country. So we see that part as well. And again, it gives me a lot of fun to write this female character who can't stand being kind of in the background in this male dominated society, and she finds an ally in an ambassador, and the two of them kind of take on the rest of the suitors. And that part is also a lot of fun. It's really political. There's just a lot that goes on, but I like to think that it all just kind of flows nicely. And eventually these two storylines, you can kind of see them. They are, there's things dropped, hints dropped here and there that eventually they are going to come together. And that of course does happen in the second book. So, and I don't want to say too much about it in case we have some people that want to read it, but I have heard very good things about it, which I'm very humbly thrilled to hear. Really is exciting.
So is this the book that gets me, and then sorry to interrupt you, Doc. Is this the book that got the nomination for the award? Or is it
yes,
book 2?
This is, well, the book 2 just came out, so I don't think it got entered in anything yet, but this is the one that got nominated for the award. And the audiobook for this is what got nominated. It's my very first book, so the idea that it got nominated for anything, I mean, it's a finalist, and I just sat there saying, okay, that's what happened. I got an award nomination. How did that happen? So I'm really excited about it. And I'm
when did
thrilled.
book one come out?
Book one came out June 15th, I believe. And book two came out.
Oh, is it
just came
eligible?
out in book form. The second book came out, I want to say March 5th or
So, Doc,
6th.
are these books
Something like that.
eligible for the Dragon, which is open for nominations now?
I'm checking the award opening of when things open up for the nomination period. Book two would definitely be. So the real question is, would book one be eligible?
I don't know.
I love how JR likes to throw things in it. So when was book one come out? Did book one come out?
Book one came out June 9th or 15th of 2021.
So book two would be eligible, but not book one.
Okay, there you go.
So if your fans are listening and you want to nominate his book,
Oh wow, I
for
put up the
Dragon Award,
wrong banner right there.
it's okay. I mean, I wasn't going to question it. I was just going to go with it. But so if you want to nominate this, the Dragon Awards are open, and book two, the sequel to this, is eligible. So do the things, people. Now, Doc, you get to ask your questions.
You really just say do the
I'm
thing.
done interrupting you. I promise. I'm done.
Okay. JR's not done. We all know he's not. But which tropes do you think you really had fun playing with for Darkstorm Rising?
What you skipped for a second there. What?
Which tropes do you really feel you had fun playing with for this?
Oh, tropes. I mean, I will tell you, I have so many great characters that I love. The fantasy trope that I like the best is that kind of anti-hero, grumpy, I don't really care what you think. I'm going to do whatever I want. I mean, that was my publisher's like, one of my main characters is named Kildare. Every time he is in the book, my publisher is so excited. He's like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what he says, what he does. How's he going to act? Who's he going to yell at? Because he's just miserable all the time. And then once in a while, we'll see a glimmer of who he used to be. And you start to say, oh, maybe he's not always this terrible. And the great thing about him is that his brother, Zidane, will kind of offset that that being so just miserable with being, hey, man, come on. You know, and he's got so many great one-liners that he'll just throw back at his brother. And yeah, that's my favorite thing to write about with the trope is those kind of gritty anti-heroes that just don't put up with anything. You know, they did try. They tried to do the right thing. And that didn't work out for them. So they're like, it's us against the world. We don't really care if we win. We're going to fight the good fight anyway, and that's that. You don't like it, get in line with everybody else who doesn't like it. Who cares? So yeah, they're pretty. That's my favorite thing to write with those guys.
So, do you test these one-liners against your siblings to make sure?
Where do you think I got them all from? Half of these one-liners are the stuff they say to me. I'm like, hey, how's it going? What do you mean, how's it going? Yeah, no, they're. I have a very blessed family. They're just brilliant. They're all wordsmiths. They're all great storytellers. They'll sit there and say, hey, no, I don't tell you stories. And then they'll tell me a story about it. Yeah, whatever. So, yeah, I was very lucky. And, having been in the military, having, gone to college and being in a fraternity, I heard all kinds of people giving all kinds of people, crap for what happened the night before. And, sometimes it was me. Oh, my goodness. Just so many good things you can use out there in the world if you listen. And that's what I do. I'm a good listener. I talk too much probably, but that's all right. I don't mind.
No such thing on a podcast pimping your books. So
true point. Good point.
But I'm enjoying it. So if we're having fun, we hope the audience is having fun. And if you are having fun, be sure when we post this to comment in the sections and go for it. So did you before I interrupt Doc again, because I can't help myself, when you picked the narrator,
I told them I was right.
Shush. Did you actually pick the narrator, or did your publisher pick it? Because you said the narrator got the narration quality is nominated for an award.
So yeah, the narration, it's all this is my first time. The second book I knew a little bit more, but by the first book, my publisher says, hey, I'm going to send you a bunch of narrators. I think we got 20 or so auditions. And, some were good, some were not that good. Some were very good. And then there was 2 that really stood out. And there was one, I was dead set. I was like, we're going to go with this guy. I love his voice. I don't care, what we have to do. This is the guy I want. I knew it. And then the very last one we got was from the one who ended up doing it. And this was from Joshua Saxon. And when he read the chapter, because they all, kind of send an excerpt, he read the whole first chapter. And my publisher kind of said, hey, you need to listen to this last one. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm going to listen to it. But nobody's going to. What? And as I listened, I was like, oh, my God, we have to hire him. And Joshua Saxon, he was so good. He's gotten nominated for an award for the audiobook. I mean, that's how good he is. I can't believe this guy's not a household name. I could listen to him read me the phone book. He's that kind of narrator. Absolutely brilliant. So that's how we picked him. We heard these guys. And then William sent me the last one, and I listened to it, and we both agreed, yep, that's the one. So I would love to say I picked it, but William kind of picked it, and I said, yeah, you're right. Great job, man.
Always a good plan to talk to your boss that way. Take notes, people. That's
why
Doc
he was
so
right.
nice to me.
He was, and I'm not shy about telling him my thoughts. I think he likes that. But in this case, I was like, yep, I'm bowing down. You know more than I do.
All right, Doc, I'm going to stop interrupting you again for a second so you can ask your next question. I promise.
So I was going to say what subgenres, because Jared loves to try and make me ask the subgenre question. Proof that this is the one time he's not interrupting me. So which subgenres do you think your story really fits into within the whole wide range of subgenres?
Oh, God. I mean, obviously it's an epic fantasy. There's some high fantasy as well. There's some real espionage here. This is a political thriller. I feel like that really are the main things that we take a look at. This is, my publisher and my narrator both said this could be a political thriller. This could be an espionage film. This could be taking place right now, except for the whole fantasy aspect. And it's kind of written in the time frame. It's been influenced by the ancient Greek times. It's been influenced by the Middle Ages. It's been influenced by some of the Roman things. Those are some of the fundamental questions. Has steel been invented? Has iron been, is it the Bronze Age? What's going on? What kind of cultures do we have? You could even say there's a little bit of gambling going on in this game. I actually invented a new card game just for this novel. And now it's, I talk about it, not all the time, but when it's appropriate, we bring it up. But I was sitting on the beach in Mexico, and I was like, you know what I need? I need a really cool game that's, unique just to this world. So I sat there and I read an old book that was actually written by Gary Gygax, the fantasy, master of Dungeons and Dragons. He had a chapter in one of his first books that kind of talked about some gambling game. And as I read through it, I was like, okay, I don't really understand the rules, but I'm going to come up with something loosely based on this. So anyways, yeah, so there's some gambling in it as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different subgenres that go with this. Probably some I'm forgetting, but those are the ones I think of the most readily.
I think they breed when you don't look at them. Kind of like, children's mess. Yeah,
I agree. You never know what you're going to get here.
Can we tell I've been cleaning house a lot lately? So, no, I just tried to clean a child's room. But anyways, on to the story itself. Can you tell us a bit more about the main character of this amazing novel?
So we have, there's really 4 main characters. I'll touch on the first 2. We have these 2 brothers, Kildare and Zidane. Kildare and Zidane. Sorry about that. These 2 guys they're kind of outcasts of society. They were extremely important at one time, but now their reputation is ruined. So they're kind of working, behind the scenes. They're working, outside the law, if you will. And they've been hired by this, very prominent sage who says, hey, I need something from a dangerous spot and I have to send you to. And, and of course they argue about being paid. But as the story progresses, they run into this mysterious woman named Chameleon, who is a psychic of incredible power. And the riddle that she tells them is meant only for their ears. And when they hear it, they realize we have to go back to where we don't want to go. We have to go back into the high society of the nobles. And because if we don't, they realize, the world is going to be in danger. And they don't put it all together right away. But as time goes on, they realize more and more, like, oh man, what we have to do this. And the funny thing is the person who set them up to take the fall is the person they now have to decide whether or not they want to save. And so as they're racing to save this person they can't stand, they do have a lot of misgivings about it. Like, are we doing the right thing? I'm not sure, and there's obstacle after obstacle in their way. They have many different things trying to slow them down. As the story unravels, we see that this is not just a localized problem with these two, but it will affect everything. It will affect the entire world. But, especially in this case, somebody who, even though they did something wrong to them, it is somebody they still care about. They don't really want to care about this person, but they do. So they're both angry and trying to save the day at the same time. So hopefully that'll answer your question. But yeah, this is one of those stories where revenge is definitely a factor, but they're trying to stand the moral high ground, and it's not easy for them because they don't like the moral high ground anyway.
So,
okay.
Do you have any
think about?
Do you have any bad guys that you're comfortable talking about that aren't going to give away anything?
Oh, I have lovely villains. They're just wonderful. They are.
He said that like some people say, "Oh, I have lovely flowers in my garden." Oh, lovely villains. That was
the funny thing is, yeah. Oh no, I love the bad guys. The bad guys are really fun to write. I've heard this said. When you write a great villain, the reader just despises them and they're just terrible. And I've heard many people say that to me, which I love. But somebody said, if you really want to write an exceptional villain, you're actually sad when they're defeated, because you understand their motivation, if you will. Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones is a perfect example. She's just horrible, but from her point of view, she's doing the right thing. She's trying to survive. That didn't work for me. I hated her the whole time.
There's a lot I can respect about that as a woman.
No. Yeah. So yeah, there. I have a couple of villains. One you could even cast one of the main characters who's on the other side, McClure. He's a good guy, but he's the guy who helped, cast these two out of society. So you could say he's both a good guy and he's a villain in certain, depending on how you want to look at it. I have another one named Eliphas, who's this just demon mage steeped in evil, and he has his own agenda going on. And then finally, my favorite villain is this Prince Dragomir, he's a suitor for the throne. His father's the most powerful, noble in the world. And he believes he's a shoo-in for, becoming the next high lord of this, integral city. He's just awful. He's just terrible. And the problem is he's young. He's I think he's 21. And he's arrogant, and he just believes he does do whatever he wants. And his advisors, he's constantly firing his advisors because he doesn't want to hear what they have to say. No, he's that young, petulant, arrogant, I think I know everything character. And he does have some redeeming qualities, but really not too many. He's pretty terrible. So yeah, those are my villains that I will speak of.
So this is my favorite question of the show, and JR is not allowed to talk when I ask it. And that's not why it's my favorite. It's my favorite because it's an amazing question.
Okay. I hope I don't get it wrong.
You won't get it wrong because any answer works. If your characters knew who you were and they met you, like say in a back alley or on a morning PT run, how do you think you'd fare?
Oh, I would get my ass kicked. Are you kidding me? These guys are very, very tough hombres. They are strong. They're fast. They're younger than I am. I have a feeling, though, like let's say I sat down to gamble with them. I have a feeling that, we might get along pretty well, even though we're kind of adversaries as well. But I do feel like, we would be pretty good giving each other, one-liners and zingers and things like that. So I think they would probably not like me right away, but as time went on, we might get along a little better. But yeah, if I met them in a dark alley, I'd be like, you go that way, I'll go this way, and we're good. Please don't kill me. So that's about it. But yeah, no, that would be fun. I would love to meet them, actually.
You can see why this is one of my favorite questions of all of our questions.
Yes, I would not piss them off because they're not characters that are say, let's let it go. They're like, oh, you don't like us? And I'm like, why did I say anything? They just don't put up with it. Unlike me, I'm much more confident.
Doc just wants to get her inner violence out, and so this is just her
I don't know what you're talking about.
But we will go on so we don't lose that family-friendly rating. So let's take a look behind the curtains about and see how the sausage was made. So were there any cool scenes that were cut from this first book that would make an interesting story?
Well, there is one scene that my publisher said you have to cut this. And I mean, I said, okay. I didn't really want to cut it. It was kind of a... How do I say this? This was a love scene, if you will, an adult scene. Now the scene is in there, but it's kind of it kind of fades to black rather than going into any great detail. Now I'm not telling you that it was 8 pages of passionate whatever, but it was I think it was about half a page of more detail. And now, I bring this up because I've had some female readers that said, I thought there was going to be a little more of, this and this between these two characters. And I said, well, I did have a scene like that, but it got cut. And they yelled at me. They're like, why did you cut this scene? I said, well, my publisher made me cut it. And I'm not knocking William. He knew what he was talking about. Because I've had at least 3 times as many people say, listen, my son or daughter is, 13, 14. Would this be age appropriate? And now because that scene's not in there, I can say, it really is. It's not too bad. There's a little bit of cursing, but other than that, it's not too bad. Again, he's wiser than me. He knew this. Now that doesn't mean I'm not going to push for kind of scene like that later on, but yeah.
But you know what? You could always put it as a special bonus on your mailing list author.
Yes, that's an excellent idea. I've heard that, and I'm like, I'm going to do that. My webpage will be done, I believe, this weekend. So I can't wait to send out my first newsletter. Say, hey, if you want to join, I'm looking forward to that.
JR.
Okay.
Now that's this weekend at the time of recording. So by the time we air it, it will hopefully be live.
Should be live. That's right.
So if you are an ambitious listener, go find it.
Yeah, let us know. Join the newsletter.
Absolutely. So what can you tell us about the universe writ large? So in miniseries, the worlds where the story takes place, the world, not worlds, word, I can speak, I promise. The world is as much a character as the protagonist and the antagonist. So what can we expect from the setting where this story takes place?
Yeah, this is another question that was or something that was brought up by both my publisher and my narrator. They really enjoy the world, and this is a world that this area of the world is, I kind of set it with the idea of the Mediterranean Sea. You've got some countries that they're a little bit more I don't want to say modern, but they're a little bit more advanced than other ones. You do have, this, it's called the Crystalline Sea. It's got these crystal clear, greenish blue waters. We have a salt marsh that's close by. We have beautiful mountains. We have this incredible waterfall that you see on the cover here. You're going to see all kinds of things from the ancient Greek times, from ancient Roman times, from the medieval times. This is a world that is a living, breathing place. And I tell you, as I'm sure you guys know as writers yourselves, how much time and energy goes into the backstory of the history of the place and the history of the world and the continents and how they came to be and bloodlines and who's in charge and who used to be in charge and who's going to be in charge. All of that stuff, plays a part. So for me, as my narrator said, the setting is really a huge character. And what you've got is you've just got these people wandering through it, but the setting is one of the main draws to the book. So, and I very humbly said thank you to that because, I know how long it took just to get it that way. I mean, I didn't spend those 25 years doing nothing.
Okay. That was well thought out. And,
Thanks.
the cool thing is that as you develop the world, if you find out some parts were more popular than others, you can always expand it with short stories or side quests or, however you want to describe spin-off books that happen in the same place. But so right now we have 2 books out in the Raven and the Crow series. But you mentioned that 6 are coming, but do you have any plans past those 6 novels, or do you think that's going to be it? I mean, jokes aside, are there spin-off series that you're thinking about already?
Well, when I'm done with these 6, I want to finish the Dwarven and Steampunk novels I talked about. I believe that will be a 3-book series. And I've decided, I actually just did a crossover short story for another anthology where we see the characters from the Raven and the Crow meet the Dwarves characters. So I decided that these are all going to happen on the same planet, although they are not anywhere near one another. So I have 3 Dwarven novels that I will be writing as well. And then I have the idea, because I put so much time into the backstories of these characters, that I could very easily, and I'm actually quite excited about it, if I'm not too tired by the end of writing 9 other books, that I very well may do a prequel series of, I have the idea of 3. I actually have a novella that I've already written for it. And one day I just got the urge and I started writing. I was like, oh, this is really good. I can put this in later on. But yeah, I do have the idea to do a 3-book prequel. And now my publisher mentioned, doing an anthology, letting some other people come in and invited them into the world. And, I would be in charge of it and I could edit the books and say, I like this one, I don't like this one. But that is also a possibility. And we will see. I do have some ideas for spin-off characters and spin-off, some of my older characters, what were they like when they were younger? So I do have that idea going as well. But I am trying to finish the 3rd book right now. So, I have these ideas, but I'm like, well, I got to get things done also. So I try not to get too far ahead of myself.
So you mentioned the spin-off or the series with the goblins that you talked about. Is that going to be in the same world or is it going to be standalone?
So it's currently a standalone, but it does take place on the same planet, if you will, in the same world.
Okay.
There is a possibility the 3rd book will have something to do with some of these characters. I have some ideas about it, but I don't want to say too much either.
Fair. So we know that every literary universe has its own internally consistent rules of science, technology, and magic. So what sort of magic can we expect in your high fantasy novel?
So the magic is it's not all powerful. Like we just have characters that, go through and tear everything up with magic. There's a limit to it. It does take strength. You do get tired doing it. The more powerful mages, they can do a bit more, whether it's male or female, doesn't matter to me. That's one of the things I wanted to write about. I wanted to make sure females had a really strong presence. Now I'm a male. Luckily, I have some strong females that I know and grew up with. And I'm constantly asking advice. What do you think about this female character? How did this play out? So that's something, whether they're, doing magic or not, that's always something I take a look at. But, I wanted to bring that characteristic of, psionics or psychic energy in, because I never really see that in a lot of fantasy novels. It was something I really wanted to bring in and touch on, because it just gives us a different element to look at. So that was another thing that I wanted to put in. As far as my magical system, I'm not going to break down every single little thing, but there is I did have to come up with a system in place. Some people are born, it's pretty rare to be magical, but it's not so rare if you see it. They don't go, oh my God, that person can do magic. It's common enough where they're used to it. Most people that are born with these magical abilities, they can maybe do 1 or 2 things and they're not super powerful. But there's always a few that can really do a lot and are steeped in magic. And there are things that can enhance that magic, whether it's a magical item or it's some substance. All of that stuff was thought out by me, and it's quite exhausting, but you have to have those things in. So, otherwise people are gonna say, well, you said this in one book and in the other book. Yeah, I know I'm one of those people, so I try not to do that.
Fair. All right, Doc. These are your other favorite questions. It's funny how I sort the interview around you getting all the questions you like to ask.
I
Maybe I
know.
got to rethink this and fix this going forward. I'm the boss after all.
No,
Why
you're
are there
not.
crickets chirping?
Oh,
All right,
JR, you sweet summer child. So, of all the magic you have in your universe, which one would you want to have for daily use?
Oh my god.
I know it's a hard question.
Well, there's I'm a pretty simple gentleman, actually. I wish I was complicated, but I'm not. There is some magic where they can just kind of use force and just knock people or things aside. There are times when I'm like, I would just like to knock somebody. I don't want to kill them. I just like, you know what? Boom. That's
No.
We're done. We're done. Take a 5-minute break and recover.
Denozo slap them upside the head.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Yes. Something like that. And then, if I just kind of go, they're not going to really know who did it. They'll be like, what the heck just happened? Yeah, that was me. But
so you're actually answering. I was going to say, and how would you abuse that?
Well, that's, I mean, I don't know if that's an abuse if they have it coming, but I mean, I would definitely use
They
it.
had it coming as
sometimes use it
validly-
for good,
well, your siblings, I'm sure they've earned it at some point.
Oh,
So just for the record, they had it come in as a valid legal defense in the South.
Thank you. Right?
Doc and I could tell
They
you
had
that
it
is a
coming.
valid legal defense in the South.
Yeah, I
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't use it for great evil, but sometimes.
Dude, that's fine. I didn't say how
That's
would you
enough of
use it
that.
for evil. I just said how would you
Right.
abuse it.
So and if his boss is listening, this is for comedic value, of course, only. Just so we got that clear, he likes his
It's not
job.
like he said he'd do it during dodgeball.
See, now I'm thinking
No,
of the
I would
movie
not.
Dodgeball. We better just keep moving because
So, do you have you've talked about some of it, and you have fantastic creatures in your universe, right?
Yes.
So, did you pull from old tropes? Did you pull from situational? I need something that does X, so I'm going to make it. Like, how did you go about creating these fantastic creatures and making them Michaels versus not Michaels?
Right. So this is a mixed question because I have several answers for this. Some I looked up. I would look up things online and get inspiration from that. But when I taught, one of the main things I did actually, when I taught 5th grade for many, many years, we always had a science project where we talked about ecosystems. And I would always give students, all right, I'm going to give you guys an ecosystem and you have to design your own creatures that can live and survive here. And, you can do plants and animals, whatever you want. But I would take some of the ideas from students and say, hey, I'm going to turn this into something I need. One student made this 6-legged, I don't want to say wolf-like creature. I thought that's probably closest, but this Caniodon is what they're called. I was like, man, I like this. And I changed it to the way I wanted it to look. But, I took some ideas from students. And then there was things from myself that I liked. The idea everybody has the orc character. I didn't want that. I wanted, something bigger and more savage and, tougher that lived in the mountain range and something that was a real danger to the people around there. So that was one I kind of designed on my own. And then I had, these lizard-like creatures. Oh God. Yeah. I tried to design and come up with stuff that I like some of the things I would see that other people had done with their art. But some of this, I tried to give it my own twist to it as well. And, I'm not going to say too much about dragons, but those are also in somewhere in the novels. Again, I'm not going to talk about it, but they're in there.
So in other words,
you don't really see them yet.
You can keep reading. You will, if you're a dragon aficionado, trust you, there will be one or more.
At least one, maybe more. Anyway.
So clearly we're kind of winding down our interview, but is there anything we haven't asked that you just got to tell us about with this series? Because definitely you're passionate, and that is wonderful.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I'm not sure there's something I want to say on my own other than, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And if you like David Gemmell, if you like epic fantasy, I mean, this was written with him in mind. A lot of my writing style comes from David Gemmell. When I first started writing, I didn't really know what I was doing. Not that I know everything now, but as you do it more, you tend to say, oh, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. But and I say this all the time, I always knew I wanted to be a writer. David Gemmell kind of showed me the kind of writer I wanted to be. And if you like action and you like political intrigue and you like, a little bit of terror, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I say give this book a try. If you like the audio books, God's sakes, go for it. What a tremendous audio reader we have. If you just like the regular books, also, I've gotten really good reviews on it. I can't even tell you how humbling that is to read some of the words that people have written about my work. So that's always nice. So I'm not sure I have anything else.
Questions.
Yes.
So 2 quick questions in that regard. Is this an Amazon exclusive or is it wide?
So you can get it on Amazon. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I believe you can get it through, I think you can order it on Barnes & Noble. You can get it on Walmart.com. I think I saw it on there. It's in quite a few places. If you just type in The Raven and the Crow, Darkstorm Rising, you'll see all the places. Amazon is the most prevalent.
If you're in Kindle Unlimited, that means the paperback and the audio are probably wide, and then
you can get it through Barnes & Noble.
Yes. Yeah.
The ebook as well?
I think you can. Don't quote me on that, though. I'm not sure.
1 second.
I don't know if it's
okay. I was just
you can get a hardcover through Barnes & Noble. Ooh, fancy.
Yes.
So I just, wanted people to know where they could find it.
No, I appreciate that.
I love it when I can get a book through my Barnes & Noble. So it makes me happy.
I know Doc is really... Barnes & Noble is Doc's happy space. So, we try to indulge her.
It is my happy space.
She actually had to quit her job there because she was paying them so much money. She just couldn't afford to keep working there.
Oh, is that
Too many books around her. She'd just buy them all.
You didn't get a discount?
She'd end up, even with the discount, she'd end up owing them more money at the end of the term. She's just like,
they do an amazing, for the record, they do an amazing discount for their employees. And I had amazing managers when I was working there.
Nice.
So. Okay. So now that we're done making fun of Doc. So
I was not making fun of her.
Okay, well, I was. So this is the part of the introduction. Wow. It's late at night, people. It's after 11, okay? When we are recording, not when you're listening. So before we let you go, we'd like to harken back to the olden days, dear listeners, and remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. And it does sound like Michael reads your reviews. So there's a plus. You could talk to him in the reviews. And, you could tell him everything he did right and why this is the most glorious book you've ever read. So it's just how that works. Doc, are you allowed to review books on Barnes & Nobles for people that buy on their website?
Yes, you are.
So you can.
Why do you even ask stupid questions?
Because their website looks like it exists in the 1990s and they've never updated it. All right.
You know what? Their book collection is updated, so that's what counts.
This is true, but I go to in-person stores because their website just makes my eyes twitch. It's just that bad. But they could do better, and I'm sure maybe someday they will. You're going to go there, Doc. What's going to happen is you're going to walk into the owner of Barnes & Noble's office. You're going to kick the door in, and you're going to say, hey, you, and you're going to use your knife hand, fix your dang website. Can you do that for me, Doc?
No, I think there's snow there.
Okay, well, that is not the place you want to go when you die. I am absolutely convinced the road to hell is paved with snow. So instead, we're going to bring this puppy to a close. We're going to let Michael Falciani, maybe I got it right this time? Close?
That was good.
Woo-hoo! Perfect. Michael, can you tell listeners and readers and viewers how they can find you all over the interwebs and social medias?
You can find me at Michael K. Falciani on Facebook. You can find me at Michael K. Falciani on Twitter. You can find me Michael K. Falciani on Instagram. I do have a website. By the time this airs, it should be up. It is michaelkfalciani.com. And then finally, if you're looking for a laugh, because I don't take myself very seriously on these, you can find me on TikTok as well. I am probably one of the oldest TikTokers that there is, but I don't take, like I said, I just have fun. I'm just going to have fun with this. I don't care if people like it. I like to think they're funny. I did a couple this last day, and I'm getting some reviews. I'm getting some views. It's not, I'm not going viral or anything, but I'm not worried about that. I'm not sure I want a bunch of little kids on my page anyway. But if you're a book talker, feel free. If you like epic fantasy, TikTok is a place I like to hang out as well.
Okay, and you can find us over there on the Twitters at twitter.com/SF_fantasy_show, Sierra Foxtrot _fantasy_show. You can email the show at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Doc will love to say hi to you. She answers all of the emails and schedules all of the guests. If you have anyone that you want us to try to reach out to, you can either email the show, dear listener, reach out to us through the Twitters, or you can comment on the Facebook group. Our Facebook group, where all the shenanigans happen, is the Blasters and Blades Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/a Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, /groups/a Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, if there's anyone you absolutely want us to reach out to and try to book, we're open to your suggestions, dear listener, whether they a new author or an established one, we're game. And sometimes it's fun to be someone's first interview. So we have a website at Anchor. Oh my. Every time someone says "oh my," I hear it in the guy from Star Trek, George. Oh, I can't pronounce his last name.
And
we'll just call him George. Yes. So we have a website at anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades. Again, anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades. At some point in the indefinite future, we will update that to our own proper website, but that will always count and always be a website where you can also support the show for as little as 99 cents a month. You too can help keep the digital lights on in this crazy space where we get nerdy with it. You can also support the show over at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it is for the podcast, and I promise I will keep my co-hosts, Doc Cisca and Nick Garber, duly equipped and pizza without pineapples on it, because such is heresy, and I will not let that stand. So we will give them regular meat lovers pizza, pepperoni pizza, normal people pizza, but none of that weird stuff, people. And please, for the love of all that is holy, for the love that is holy, all that is holy, please stop sending me all these heretical pizzas with things like cucumbers and peeps and all this other weird nonsense. My head is going to explode. Stop it. Don't do it. You know who you are. Enough is enough already. All right.
I thought you really liked the avocado one. I thought you really dig the avocado pizza.
Doc, you told people that, and you told people we put peanuts on my pizza, and they're sending me all of the trash that's on the internet with pizza pictures, and I don't know if my brain can recover from such heresy.
You'll survive. It's okay. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's what my drill sergeants always told me. It builds character.
And they were right. So, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For Nick Garber, J.R. Handley, I'm Doc Cisca. This was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, indulging our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and of course, torturing J.R., because who wouldn't want to torture J.R.?